What's going on, Faded Culture? I'm Adrian and Barron. We're back with another tutorial. Today we're going to be breaking down the steps on how to do a mid drop fade. But before we get started, if you're not already following us on Instagram, be sure to check it out, as I am doing a giveaway this week and I'll be posting the details on there. With that said, let's jump right into this tutorial.
Alright guys, give this video a thumbs up, as it is my birthday week, and for that reason I'm doing the giveaway, just to celebrate. I'll be posting the details on my Instagram, so like I said, be sure you are following. It's linked below. Now let's jump right into this tutorial. We started off with wetting the hair a little bit. He already has a natural part, but if your client doesn't and you're struggling with sectioning the hair, it is good to use a little bit of product. Right here I'm just going to clip his hair out the way. And we're only sectioning the sides, as he doesn't want no overlap towards the back. And we're going to start by making our first guideline, dropping it behind the ear, starting with our lever all the way closed. And like I mentioned in my previous video, be sure to have a small brush on your left hand or your opposite hand, just to make sure that every couple strokes you are cleaning the canvas. As you can see right here, I do go back and refine my guideline, as the better the setup, the better the fade is going to come out, guys. So don't be scared to, like I said, brush your canvas and constantly go back if you have to and straighten out those guidelines. Make sure you end up at that same temple peak area on the other side of the head. You can always stand in front of him and just kind of get a glance of it, just to make sure that you are even on both sides. Now we're going to create our second guideline with the lever fully open. And now that we're coming up towards the fade, guys, make sure you are flicking out, guys. It's very vital, very important that you're flicking out and you're being very soft with these guidelines. That way when we come back down, it'll be a lot easier to remove. And be sure that every single guideline runs parallel to the one underneath. Now we're going to grab my number 1 guard, lever still fully open, and we're going to create our third guideline, taking that up about another inch or so. Again, make sure you're flicking out and you're staying easy with that, and just take that all around the head. I'm going to slow down the strokes for y'all, just so y'all can see the motion. Now with my number 2 guard, lever still in the fully open position, we're going to continue the process. And the last guard that I will be using is a number 3, lever still in that fully open position. And basically, as I'm setting up all these guidelines, the lever stays fully open, guys. And for this particular style, we do need to leave some bulk on this left side of the head, that way he has enough hair to comb down. But we're gonna just straighten that out and remove a little bit using the clipper over comb technique. Make sure you are pulling out as you get to the top, just to ensure it gives them more of that square shape and we leave some length towards the top. If this is your first time doing clipper over comb, I highly suggest you open the lever or even put the number 1 guard on there. That's just going to be a safety net, that way you don't cut so much. And whenever I use clipper over comb to this extreme where it's real squared when we leave it a lot of length, I always come back with my thinning shears over comb to just refine that. That way the hair lays a lot better and the transition is better from the fade to the top. And by now you should have 3 guidelines. The first one that we created with the 0, the second that we created with the lever open, and the third that we created with the number 1 guard, lever fully open. We're going to start with that top one and work our way down. Using my 1.5 guard, we're going to close the lever just slightly, putting it in that 3/4 position. It's basically somewhere between fully open and halfway. Using mainly the corners of the clipper, we're going to attack that top guideline, guys. Take your time now that we're coming back down, because this is where attention to detail really does matter. And as usual, all the steps are in the description down below in case y'all want to screenshot them and take them with y'all to the barbershop, or if y'all just like to follow along that way as well. Now with my half guard lever still in that 3/4 position, we're going to attack the second line coming down. Again, using mainly the corners of the clippers, guys. And this half guard is creating a faint line right above it, but do not take this step any higher, as we are going to come back right now with my one guard and clean that up. Like I said, now we got the number 1 guard, but we're going to leave that lever still in that 3/4 position. Now to attack the last line, we're going to start with the lever close, then we're going to open it halfway, then open it fully. We're going to work in sections, taking each of those notches up just slightly. And the reason I work in sections, I'm just going to focus on this left side of the head, is because this last line, as we all know, is very tedious. So I just take your time with it, guys. Like I said right here, I'm starting with the lever close. Now I'm going to open it halfway and just take each of those notches up slightly. And finally open it all the way. Even the back of the head I break down into 2 smaller sections. Here I'm just going to focus on the back left side of the head. Again, starting with the lever close, then we're going to open it halfway, then fully open. It's just a 3-step process, guys. We're going to repeat that all around the head. If any of y'all saw my last video, y'all know I mentioned a book by Robert Greene called Mastery. I hope some of y'all got the chance to check it out, and if y'all did, leave a comment down below on some of y'all's best quotes, man. I have a few of my own. One that really resonated with me and stuck with me to this day is, quote, "The time that leads to mastery is dependent on the intensity of our focus." I mean, that just goes to show, guys, that with anything you do, you just take your time and learn the process. Do not get frustrated. It's part of the learning curve. So just stay with it, guys. And over time, we only could get better. So hope that helped, guys. And finally, for the right side of the head, again, we're going to start with the lever fully closed. Second step is opening it up halfway. And finally, opening it up all the way. Again, practice using those corners, guys. It really does come in handy with this last line. Now that you're done, step back and do any touch-up work with the half guard. I start with the lever fully open and then just adjust as I go. And the touch-up work really just depends on client to client, and even from one side of the head to the other side, as scars, bumps, and lumps and things like that really do play a part when touching up the work. Now right underneath where we started that 0, we're going to use our Sub-Zero trimmer in this direction. and then we're gonna turn it around and take out that faint line that created. And what this is gonna do is just gonna get a lot closer to the scalp by using it in that opposite direction, and it's gonna make it a lot easier to transition from that electric shaver into the fade. Follow that same process all around the head, and if you haven't tried this, guys, be sure to try it. It's gonna make your life a lot easier, especially when you're first starting out. The electric shaver is one of the hardest lines to take out. Just be sure that if your clippers are zero gap, you are testing them on your forearm just to make sure that you're not scratching your client's head. When you're creating that C curve and that temple peak area, make sure you do step back and they do align on both sides. Now to remove the rest of the hair, I usually start about mid-ear, and what that does is it gives me enough space to blend in the beard. And as you can see, guys, by using the trimmer the opposite direction, it created this faint line. And like I said, that's exactly how high up we're gonna take the shaver. But even when using the electric shaver, when I approach that faint line, I do use the corners of it mainly, just to make sure and be safe that I'm not creating another line. We're gonna trim the beard with the number 2 lever fully open, and to blend that in, it's pretty easy. I'm gonna do the number 1 all the way open, and then close it all the way, and then use that same 3-step process that I used earlier, but in reverse. So we're gonna start with the lever fully open, close it halfway, and finally close it all the way, and just repeat that on the other side of the beard. And whenever you're trimming your client's mustache hair, make sure you are asking him to pull his lip in, just to ensure that you get every single hair. And what I like to do is use the electric shaver on this upper part of the lip, just because it is a lot thicker hair, so it's gonna make it easier when I come back with a straight razor. And for his neckline, just like I do with the edge up, I always start in the center and work my way to the sides. And I usually always use the electric shaver on the neck hair, guys. What do y'all use? Do y'all usually do the whole warm towel and then straight razor, or do y'all use electric shaver as well? I personally just like to use electric shaver because it does get a little bit closer to the scalp, as I could go against the grain. But just be careful, because some clients are prone to ingrowns even when you're shaving with the grain. There's some clients that I only use the trimmer. And no matter what guard I use to trim the beard, I always remove the guard and just freehand it, just to get all the frizz and straighten it out that much better. Here I'm just applying a little bit of shave gel. And as usual, I start shaving with the grain and then come against the grain. Always using my opposite hand to help stretch the skin, just to shave a lot smoother, a lot easier. And when you're doing the beard, step back and use their lip as an indicator to make sure that it's aligned on both sides. And here I'm just spraying water just so it can help me when I blow dry it and shape it. Starting with high speed and high heat to ensure that we open up that cuticle, make the hair malleable, and style it in the way that we want to. And when you're done with the style, hit the cool button. This is going to turn off the heat, blow a bunch of cool air, and it's going to close the cuticle just to lock in the style. And if you blow dried right, guys, you only have to use a little bit of product. Here I'm just going to run some matte water-based pomade. It's usually my favorite and my go-to for a lot of the styles. I usually start at the part just to ensure that we get that as clean as possible and just work my way back. Then I run my brush through it just to give it more of a uniform look. And I usually always step back and freehand any frizz, guys. And we're gonna go ahead and lock this style in with hairspray. Using a little bit of hair enhancements. In case y'all forgot, this was the before, and boom, here's the after, guys. A mid ball fade. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I hope y'all learned something new, guys. As always, thank y'all so much for tuning in. Till next time, guys. Peace.